I'm Catherine Love. I'm a journalist at Forbes, and I've had the pleasure of editing the North America Education 30 Under 30 list for 3 years. And I have joined with me, I have two list makers of 30 Under 30 who focus on education. We have Nelly Cheboi and Zan, how do I say it right? Dapčevič, or Dapčevič? There we go. So Zan is based in Slovenia, and Nelly in Kenya. And as we get started, I would love to just focus on Nelly's story for a moment, because I think your story really encapsulates some of the themes that we're hitting on this week at the first ever Under 30 Summit in Africa. So Nelly was telling me about her upbringing in rural Kenya and with sisters, and her mother was working really long hours to put her sisters through school. And I think people were questioning, as you said, like, why put so much effort into education? They can just grow up and get married. But it turned out that Nelly was one of the top high school students in Kenya of her age. And then she went, way to go. She went to college in the United States. And she opened a school in Kenya, and she also runs a nonprofit called TechLit Africa that collects used electronics from corporations or organizations and provides those refurbished to schools in Kenya, which I think is really, really cool. And helped your mom, too, to improve her quality of living. So what I thought we could start off by saying is both of you kind of overlap in wanting to train lifelong, like, real job skills to the students that you serve. And one thing you mentioned, Nelly, was that, like, when you got to college in the United States, you had very little experience using a computer, if any at all, and you were kind of disadvantaged from others because you were a slow typer and kind of had to catch up on everyone else who had already been using computers. So what are some of the, like, lifelong skills or real job training skills that you're focused on in your work teaching to students?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I am Nelly from Kenya. So I think the focus of our work really is just like, I think digital economy is such a big infrastructure, and it's the easiest one to build. You just need to bring computers, you just need to train the kids and train people on the technology. And I feel as a continent we are not doing that, at least in the rural parts of Africa. And for me it's really just being able to get people online, just even like knowing how to type, knowing even how to send an email. Mm-hmm. Like the people we work with, I've never even sent an email before. They don't even know what the value of a computer is. And so just the basic literacy is really what we're focusing on. And then another aspect is self-efficacy. The idea that it doesn't matter what you want to learn, you can find it online, right? Mm-hmm. We are coming from an education system where that whatever the teacher says is what you do, right? And so you just look at this one authority figure and that's all. If they don't know the answer, that's it, right? But so we're trying to train them, like, it doesn't matter what it is, just get online, just learn, just build a brand. Mm-hmm. And it really is like, it's matter, like self-learning, teaching that. Yeah.
Absolutely, and having the devices that have been refurbished from the US. I mean, if corporations are replacing their devices every 3 years, they're perfectly usable elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And Zan, shifting over to you, you run a 2-year vocational training program, an alternative to the standard traditional bachelorette degree program, with a focus on training people in specific areas to be hireable and find jobs. And I thought it was interesting when we were talking backstage about kind of what inspired you, and you said that you had kind of seen a trend of people really focus on education and going to college, but they kind of get through college and they're not really sure what they want to do, and they kind of flounder for a few years and sort of waste maybe a couple years of really, like, young, energetic life, and then kind of find their way around their late 20s. So what are some of the skills that you're working on teaching in your business?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me as well. Hello to everyone. I think Western world has this champagne problem of kind of over-education, which created the skills gap we are facing right now, where people have degrees or even have postgraduate degrees, but there aren't that many jobs available for those positions. So I think the most important, and then we're also facing the digitalization, as Nelly mentioned, and the automatization of processes. So there's a big need for reskilling and just trying to really focus on niches with skills. So with that, I think the most important skill today you have to learn is really how to learn, unlearn, relearn. I think that's a very basic skill that everyone needs. The way we are designed is that we take what is currently needed in the economy, in terms of job placements, because we have a internship position reserved upon the admission of a student with the company already. So that really like matches, you know, the demand that is in the market.
It's not just training, but it's also finding you a job once you finish the program. And that makes me think about affordability to ensure that all the students who want to be able to attend your programs can afford them. And Zan, I know you were talking about a potential new solution for yours, being an income share agreement. Currently, students pay to attend the program, but tell us how you would consider implementing this idea of having them pay most at a later date when they actually have entered the workforce and they have a salary, and have a portion of that salary go back to your program.
Exactly. So it's, I mean, right, if you look at the business model of education right now, it's very simple. The more students you have, the better you are. So you don't really focus on what's happening with them after they graduate. At least in the short run. It may kill you in the long run. But if you implement this ISA, income shared agreements, is basically you put school at risk. So when you hire someone, you have to be certain that they're gonna get a job that they need. They're gonna earn enough so they could then pay back once they graduate and are in the workforce.
And I know that's been something that's been pursued in the US and elsewhere, but do you see that being challenging where you are, or do you think it's going to happen for you?
I think it's going to happen in Europe. I think we have a, you know, Europe is very complex compared to probably the rest of the world because we have very heavy regulation in education. There has been some deregulation happening right now where we're going to be a full European higher education area with automatic recognition of qualifications. And also there is another I would say, incentive coming from the European Investment Bank through the European Investment Fund, which is willing to actually pilot and guarantee such financial products to appear as well in Europe. Yeah.
They'll help you out.
Hopefully.
And how about you, Nelly, as far as affordability? How do you structure your pricing or your funding so that students and their parents, who are doing the paying perhaps, realize the importance of education and the importance of the method of education that you're delivering?
Yeah, I think so. So we get the computer donations from America, right? And these computers, so Americans the computers are going out of date really quickly, like 3 years. And typically these computers either go to land waste and stuff like that. And so we are collecting those computers and getting them to Kenya. The biggest challenge, for one, is just importing the computers.
Yeah.
So because countries have really strong regulation on e-waste, which makes a lot of sense. We don't want the computers to come here and end up in trash. And so it becomes really expensive. So we're paying like 25% of the value of the computer to get it to the country. And for that part, we have to fundraise for. So we have the philanthropy model. But then when we come to the local, like the operations local in rural Kenya, we want to make it sustainable. And so the way we are doing it is that we are getting the community, like a parent, we're telling parents, please, like just donate like $1 a month for this education. And the biggest challenge for that is that, I mean, it's really great because once we get the computers there, they're self-sustaining, right? The community is paying for it. The kids are learning. It's part of their curriculum. They are going to the program every day. They go to math at 8 a.m. At 10 a.m. they're coming to the lab and they're learning all these skills. But there's no mental model of what it looks like to work online. There's no mental model of just the digital economy. And so they don't value the program. The kids are having a blast. The kids are loving it. They're learning about, Minecraft education. They're learning about making music videos. Yeah. But the parents don't understand it. And they're the shareholders. The kids could be, I mean, the product is for the kids, but the shareholders don't get it, and that it becomes a really big challenge. And so I'll give you an example. So we have a hair school, like where women, we have a hair school where women who don't have most of them are really like in a very domestic abusive relationship, and so their option is to either to stay in this abusive relationship or go back and live with their parents and be an embarrassment, be a burden. So most of them, they just like bear and they just stay. And what we're trying to do with the hair school is give them financial independence where they can come and learn, and in 3 months they can start their own salon and stuff like that. For that program, we charge them enough money to make it sustainable, and they pay. They are so glad to pay. They're happy to do it. They show up every day because they really value the program. But when it comes to tech education, they don't understand. They're like, at least they'll know how to use it. And in that case, it becomes, so what we are trying to do now is we're trying to kind of create a space where people can outsource, like data entry, machine labeling, and stuff like that, where if they see that you can make money on the internet, that then we can get the shareholders to really appreciate it.
Have to show them the value.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about kind of the online value, improving that. And Zan, I wanted to kick it back to you because you mentioned that very early in the pandemic, you considered moving, I guess we all had to consider moving our operations online, but you were very committed to getting them back to in-person very quickly. And I'm curious if focusing on in-person learning at the 2 locations that you have in Slovenia, if that inhibits your growth or why your priority is the in-person versus being able to reach more students virtually?
It's actually a very good question because like I think the most of edtech is now like online. But I mean for the segment of students that we have, I think it's really important to also develop a character of them, like attitude. So with that, I think that's really hard to do in online environment. So yeah, we are fully offline, but of course with a strong online support behind it, right? Like so like all the resources are online, like everything is recorded online, of course. But we have to meet in person. We have to gather. We have to network. Because like what's really unique about our concept is that we don't have faculty employed full time, right? We bring in industry professionals to teach with us on a part-time basis, with an idea that they will actually also employ those students, right? So they can screen while they're teaching and see how the students are performing. Because like as an education institutions, we have so many data points of students that we usually don't share with employers. And then that's why the whole HR roles exist with pre-screening and testing, like retesting everything again, despite having like qualifications behind, right? So that's why we want to be offline. And it's all about community on the end as well.
Community and being able to share that data with the employers. That's interesting. And I know we have spent these 2 years with pandemic and everything has been affected, but especially education. And I'm curious, in your markets or in the students that you serve, what has been the biggest impact of COVID, for better or for worse? How about you, Nelly?
I think COVID was really sad, especially for the continent. For example, Uganda took a break for 2 years. The kids are just coming back. Wow. The kids are just coming back from COVID. I mean, from just being at home. And then the same thing in Kenya. And for us, we were just starting out when COVID hit. We were just like, because the way we were doing it before, we had. So I have the school, and so the idea for the school was to provide all the resources that little kids really need, like the ones I see in the suburbs of Chicago. And I just really wanted to bring all of it. And one of the programs was TechLit Africa, just bringing computers. And so initially we were just bringing it. We're just letting kids come in like on holidays or in the evenings or after school program. And then we realized that the population was mostly boys because girls were at home helping with the chores and stuff like that. Right. And so we had just figured out that we needed to go to schools, because in schools we can ensure equal access. In schools we can ensure continued access, we can ensure equality and all those things. And then COVID hit. And there's nothing we could have done because we didn't have. It's very expensive to import the machines. Right now, sitting here at our warehouse in Chicago, we have about 1,000 machines. Wow. To get those here to Kenya, we are looking at $10,000. So we have to fundraise for that. And so it was really sad that we just couldn't continue our program. We couldn't like get the kids and give them laptops at home. We couldn't. And so we just sat there. We hibernated. We just hibernated and waited. And so we were able to come back when Kenya came back in July 2021 and started working with schools. And so I think it really showed how far behind we are as a continent. And I think school is a very good infrastructure, right? Like we saw that once kids were at home, there was increased, teenage pregnancy. There was, I don't know. I think COVID was just really bad for this sector in the continent because we were not ready for it.
Yeah. But then you were very ready once it reopened to provide all these devices.
Right. I'm just saying, like, ready in terms of online learning. Like for US, they were just able to just, online learning.
Yeah, just
their tablets.
It was still hard, but we made it work.
Yeah, but in Kenya, it was just like, okay, you go home until this thing is over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about you, Zan? COVID in your market or your students?
I would say there are some pros in terms of like, okay, we could do some bits online, going back to offline online thing. So we can, zoom in a guest lecture that we were supposed to fly in before, which makes scheduling very easy. But on the other hand, of course, I think the big theme that came out, especially with young students, is the mental health issues. So we've been seeing a lot of that, and we have some mechanisms now to support students in that as well. But it's better to do prevention rather than healing, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. I know we need to wrap up. It's about the end of our time, but I just really quickly wanted to ask you to, if you can tell me a quick answer as to someone or an organization that you think is really doing something interesting, innovative, you're kind of looking up to as a role model in the education space. Nelly?
I mean, TechLit Africa, of course.
You're running that one.
Okay. Sounds good. Another one. I think, get back to me on that.
Okay, I'll let John go first.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's a hard one. But I'll say probably what we're gonna see in education is a lot of unbundling of the service itself, right? Because when you go to university, like you probably don't need all the courses, right? You maybe just need half of them or 3/4 of them. So we'll probably see a lot of like micro qualifications emerging, and like there are a couple of great examples that are already on the market, where you go for a very short kind of a boot camp or even shorter training just to reskill and then go back to work. So this is something I'm aspiring at. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Is there an example in mind, one like a university that you're thinking of? Or you just know that they're out there?
Yeah, I would say there are a couple of platforms. I mean, Coursera, for example, it's definitely a good example. Very great content. Of course, challenges are there as well.
Yeah.
But the idea is awesome. Yeah, the idea is great.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's a good one. Do you want to share one? Or?
Yeah. I think I've come up with one. So there's this organization called Startup Lions, and they went to the most remote part of rural Kenya, so in the Turkana region, where it's very dry, and every time there's some kind of famine, they have to depend on humanitarian aid just to get food. And so what they did is that they took high schoolers from the area and started they built a digital outsourcing joint. And I'm very inspired by them, because so many people, it's very very hard to, it's really very hard to reskill adults. It's at least for us, where they don't have any background in terms of digital technology and stuff. We tried, we gave up. Andela tried, they gave up. So many people in this space who tried to just get adults and reskilling them, they gave up. But they have stuck it out, and we are seeing very great results. We are seeing people from that region that is very, very bare, very barren, being able to export like graphic design, being able to export like website building and so on. And yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's a good example.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap it up there. Thank you both for your time, and thank you all for listening.